Alright, listen, I intended for this video to come out sooner, but one of the movies that we're reviewing today had an embargo that I could not break. So, let's talk about two movies today. One of them is in a famous line by Uncle Jesse in Full House.
Have mercy.
And the other, well, I'll tell you if I needed help or not. Did you get it? Is it stupid? Okay, fine. What's going on, you guys? James here with another real review, and today we're talking two movies. We usually talk one in a review, but today I'm going to talk about a movie that's in theaters and one that's coming out in theaters this weekend. So hopefully by the end, I'll answer the question of which movie should you spend your money on this weekend at the movies. Now, before we get into it, if it's your first time here at the channel, welcome to Real James, where I love talking about movies, TV, and all the news in between. So if you do too, hit that big red button below, subscribe to the channel, y'all. We're almost at 31,000 subscribers. This year is going to be amazing. All glory to God, and I can't wait to get into what 2026 has in store. So don't miss out. Go ahead and like this video, get loud in the comments, and let me know which movie you decide to see in theaters. Is it Mercy or is it Send Help? See, I told you that I was being punny in my intro for the movie titles here. Anyway, okay, so let's get into it, you guys. First and foremost, a huge thank you to the distributor for Mercy, who gave me the chance to watch this early in theaters, Amazon MGM Studios, and the movie is in theaters now. And also, huge thank you to 20th Century Studios for giving me the chance to watch Send Help early in theaters, which releases January 30th. Now, both movies, kind of small in scale, but do they pack a punch? And that's what we're going to talk about today. So let's get started with my thoughts on Mercy, a movie starring Super Mario himself. Oh, sorry, Star-Lord. Dang it. Chris Pratt and Rebecca Ferguson, the Reverend Mother. That's a Dune reference. I love Dune. Mercy is directed by Timur Bekmambetov, who directed Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter, a movie I didn't see, but I heard was ridiculous. And the movie surrounds the usage of AI in a sort of futuristic setting in Los Angeles. They have something called a Mercy Court, where it is run entirely by an AI judge who is Judge Maddox, played by Rebecca Ferguson, and they try people in court without a jury, which sounds terrible, but also sadly realistic for what's to come, possibly. But Chris Pratt plays this detective, Chris Raven, and he's been named for murder, so he's on trial. Did he murder his wife or not? He has 90 minutes to prove his innocence to the advanced Judge Maddox before it determines his fate. So the movie is not as deep as it sounds. Should it have been maybe deeper and possibly pushed back harder against AI? Yeah, but it also has some subtext that shows you how dangerous AI can be. Now, let's get into the positives here, because this movie looked terrible. I won't lie to you guys. I saw the trailer, I saw the posters, and I thought this movie is definitely a January film. However, the film itself actually is not terrible. There are some fun elements in the first half, and I felt the first two acts sort of do a decent job of keeping you engaged. I mean, this definitely feels like a streaming film. However, I do think that it was fine on the big screen. It doesn't require you to rush out to it, but I do think that there were some action elements, and I really loved Rebecca Ferguson here. She was clearly the standout. Chris Pratt is okay, he's serviceable in the role, but he's really just kind of playing himself. I mean, his character's name is Chris. But Rebecca Ferguson plays a judge, this AI judge, and she is serving looks for 90 minutes. It is incredible. She's very good at this. And a lot of the movie's humor does find its way through Rebecca Ferguson. There's more subtleties in terms of the humor, so it's not hitting you over the head, but it does make me laugh at times. I mean, there were instances where I'm like, that's so funny, but sad, because AI could do this. So there are elements of the movie that can sort of be grounded in reality to an extent, but for the most part, it's like everything is taking place in this AI courtroom where Chris Pratt's sitting in a chair, calling up evidence, calling people. So you're seeing things vertically, you're seeing things horizontally, found footage, evidence, files are being sorted through. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but I want to save that last part for the negatives. And I'll be honest, it's not really a thriller, but if you had to even classify it, yeah, it's like a C-level thriller. There are some cool action moments, there are some really horrendous displays of CGI, but for the most part, it is okay. You know, it's nothing special, and I, in a way, kind of like that they went beyond the courtroom, but it's the way they got there that I'm like, I'm a little exhausted here. So let's get into the negatives, because this movie, while not terrible, also has moments where I'm thinking, this is just not for me. It's not playing well enough. And that's the issue I had with the movie, is that because so much of it takes place in this AI courtroom, you tend to get exhausted. I mean, how many times are we going to see Chris Pratt call up evidence and then all these files flash across the screen? And I got overstimulated. And that's the biggest thing, is that I was overstimulated. And I saw this in 2D. I feel bad for my friend Austin Putnam, who saw this in 3D at his screening the day after. I would have pulled my hair out. But I do think that bouncing back and forth between these AI prompts and all these commands played better on paper than how it was executed. And the biggest missing piece of this movie is the emotionality. I don't necessarily feel anything for Chris Raven. Do I feel bad that his wife was murdered? Yeah, I'm not like a savage. But I will say I don't necessarily think that they did the best job at conveying that through Chris Pratt. Maybe a fault of the script and directing, but for the most part, you're missing that emotional layer to this film that probably would have helped set it apart. And hey, I'm not sitting here dogging Chris Pratt at all. I do think that the supporting cast didn't do much to help elevate and lift this film either. Listen, y'all, I'm not coming into this movie expecting like award level winning performances, but you gotta give me something. And the supporting cast did not give a lot. There were moments where I could tell they were reading their lines, and I'm like, darn it, this is not great. And then there are moments where they're trying to be very hard, like, we're like firm in our commands, we're Los Angeles Police Department. And I didn't really necessarily feel that through the screen. It did feel like it was, in a way, sometimes written by AI. I hate to say it that way, but it's true. Like, the script was too robotic and one-dimensional. And that's one of the biggest issues of this movie, is that when it goes away from Rebecca Ferguson and Chris Pratt, I just don't care. And like I mentioned earlier, the first two acts of the movie are better than the third act. The surface level dialogue starts to creep up again in that third act, and once we sort of find our way into different elements of the movie, the story takes a turn, and I'm like, I don't think that this works too well. The selling point for me in the movie was genuinely being in this AI courtroom, and being outside of it didn't feel great. And then there are moments where the visual effects for a movie that's all about visual effects looked really bad. There's this car chase sequence in the second half of the movie that was dreadful, y'all. Like, I was looking at this and thinking, oh boy, how little time did you have to work on this? Because it looked too unrealistic, and I could definitely tell that the budget might have been a little bit shrunken in that moment. Is that even a word? But it felt like they didn't have enough in the budget for that scene, and it just threw me out of the movie. So there are instances like that that just sort of break the immersion that the movie's trying to build in the first half. And usually here in my reviews, guys, I give you my final thoughts, but I'm going to save those final thoughts at the very end, because it's time to talk about Send Help, a movie directed by Sam Raimi, a legend in terms of what he did with Spider-Man 1 and 2, Spider-Man 3 not so much. And then I liked, years and years ago, how he made an imprint on the horror genre with The Evil Dead. I don't really like those movies anymore, but I recognize the impact he's left. Sam Raimi has a very specific style that you end up feeling a little bit in this movie, even if it doesn't come until a little bit later in the film. The movie's starring Rachel McAdams as Linda Liddle and Dylan O'Brien as Bradley Preston. And without giving away anything, because going into this movie cold is pretty fun, don't look at any of the trailers or the first look images. It might give away some of the kills in the film. But Send Help is all about an employee, Linda Liddle, who does all the work and never gets any of the credit in a very mega corporate environment where now a new CEO by the name of Bradley Preston comes in, and he is not great. He's not a good person and a terrible leader. Eventually, to appease this employee after being passed up for a promotion, they go on a private jet and they end up crash landing on a remote island in Asia, I think. I think it was. And they got to survive. But guess what? This is Linda's environment. So I think it's Linda's world, and we're all just living in it in this movie. But the film itself is definitely zany, and that's one of the good things about the movie. So let's get into the positives for Send Help. I actually enjoyed the slapstick approach that you begin to feel at the end of the first act. Now, we don't get that again for a little while. There's a little stretch in the middle of the movie where you don't get too much of that, but Sam Raimi's known for the slapstick, gory approach to his films, so he's not holding back, and there were some crazy kills in this movie. So it would be very fun with a big crowd. I saw it at a press screening, so there were about 8 of us there. I laughed at times, I was shocked in others, and I definitely had to turn away from the screen sometimes too. But that is the appeal for this film. Now, Dylan O'Brien and Rachel McAdams are actually pretty good here, and Rachel McAdams is a legend. Dylan O'Brien, I haven't seen him in much, but every time I see this man lately, he's really good. He's very good at being a jerk in this film, and that's exactly what the role is calling for. Rachel McAdams is a character you feel for, but then by the end, I'm not going to lie. But what works is when we get to this island and they're trying to survive. I'm sort of left with some crumbs as to where the story can go, and while I feel like, yeah, maybe they didn't necessarily land the plane, get it? I was still in it, if that makes sense. I still was curious, and I wanted to know how the film would end. So there's enough to chew on at times here. In some other instances, I kind of felt like they were, again, meandering. But Send Help is just like zany, guys. It's crazy. And if you're wondering, is this movie scary by any means? I wouldn't say so. There's maybe one horror element here, and usually that's not my cup of tea. But the movie is classified, I would say, as a thriller. I just don't know, man. Is it, though? And I guess that's like maybe where I want to get into my negatives here, is that I think the movie could have done with some more thrills. And I don't think that the film had enough, again, to really like chew on for me to think, yeah, I'm curious what's going to happen next. I'm on the edge of my seat. You're just kind of waiting for the next zany moment, and you can only get so much of that. So there's a moment in the middle of the movie where I just feel like we're sort of floating through the script, and it is kind of setting up certain things that they pay off to a degree in the third act, which is fine, but it doesn't necessarily feel, at least to me, that the movie goes anywhere that really shocks me. And I was hoping for that in a way, because that's what the film is sort of building up to, but it doesn't get there all the way. So, yeah, at the end of the movie, people will probably be shocked or rooting for whichever character makes it, right? But I was really hoping for a little bit more from the movie in that regard. And I don't necessarily think that, the humor at times works. I know that there were some other press members laughing at certain scenes, whether they were shocked or not, but I didn't find a lot of those elements very funny. Especially in the middle of the movie, there are certain things that happen and I'm like, okay. And then they happen again and it kind of just like dilutes the actual shock value for when it happens. And I'm like, all right, when can we move on from this? And that's the thing. The movie is what the movie is. It's unapologetically itself, so it's not going to do anything outside of the box in that regard. So what you get in the first hour is what you're going to get for the rest of the movie, because the movie's almost 2 hours long, and I don't even think it needed to be that long, to be honest. I think the movie is a little too long. It could have been shorter, maybe a tighter script and tighter vision for the film, and we would have had a very, I would say that like maybe a more thrilling ride through this movie. So overall, you guys, based on what I just talked about with Send Help and with Mercy, both of these films, in my opinion, are kind of even up until a certain point. And I think what it comes down to is the acting. And the acting in Send Help is better than the acting in Mercy. There's also more of a vision in Send Help than Mercy, but I don't necessarily think that having a vision is enough sometimes. You got to have a cohesive script that I think will carry the movie from A to B, and I just feel like we get stuck in the middle with Send Help. And Mercy has a good idea. It's kind of okay in some regards, but it doesn't also do well in the third act. So both movies are even except for the acting. So that's why Send Help, if you had to pick one movie this weekend, is the one to see. I do think you shouldn't eat during the movie. It's gross. But Mercy would probably be a fine streaming movie. Again, I would give Mercy like a 2.5 out of 5 and Send Help a 3. So they're very even, but it's just the acting in Send Help that sort of helps put it above Mercy for me right now. But y'all, let me know what you think of both films in the comments if you're seeing both, or if you see Send Help, let me know what you think of it too, because I appreciate when you guys take my recommendations Means a lot. But y'all, again, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Tap on that bell, like this video for more reviews and movies and TV content. I mean, I'm telling y'all, we got Love is Blind coming up in February, so I'm going to be covering the heck out of that. So it's going to be a lot of fun, and I can't wait for Oscar season. I mean, we're in it, of course, but Oscars begin, well, actually, it's March, mid-March. We'll be covering that on the channel too. Of course, I'll be reacting to everything. So a lot of fun stuff coming up in the next couple of months. Don't miss out, y'all. Get subscribed. And again, thanks so much for watching and sticking with me and all my puns. I know you love them. I know you do. All right, y'all. Again, thanks for watching. God bless you guys, and I'll catch you at the next screening.